Last time we created some basic factories that made some basic components for us, and we ended the episode by making this assembler machine to make some more advanced components. But as always, it ended with us having a power management issue, which is why, during the off time, I have spent some time collecting some more biomass, and have then set up this very basic factory here, which will process the biomass and turn it into solid biofuel for us. So at least for the short time, I'll be able to put some solid biofuel into these biomass burners, and we will get power out into our factory, because we need 50 reinforced iron plates for our Logistics Mark 2 upgrade, and currently only having 9 of them isn't really going to cut it. So at least now with the power back on, we should start manufacturing them again, and we should be able to complete that upgrade very shortly. These factories are really just a temporary placement here for me to create these basic components for the first few upgrades. I will be ripping them down and start pulling some of the ore nodes around here so we can start making some proper bus systems in. Although in saying that, I really should look into our power management first and just check how close we are to getting our coal power plants, because we are desperately needing a better power source for all of these factories before I even begin thinking about placing down some more factories. And again, in saying that, I'm pretty sure our coal generators come after we unlock our tier 3 upgrades, which means we first need to complete the space elevator phase 1. And placing the space elevator isn't going to be the issue here. We will be able to collect all of the components required to make it without much issue. The real issue comes from actually making these smart plating components, which are going to require 2 reinforced iron plates every minute and 2 rotors every minute. And they can only be made within an assembler. I can't make them by hand. While I already have that assembler machine over there making 5 reinforced iron plates every minute, I would just need to set something similar up for our rotors. And just as we start talking about making some components for the space elevator to unlock a potential upgrade for our factory for our power management issues, we actually have just lost power again. So yup, I hate having to do any form of work, so I'm thinking I might try rush the tier 3 upgrade just to get our coal power generators. To make 4 rotors every minute, I'm going to require 20 iron rods per minute and 100 screws every minute, as well as a couple dozen eggs. Oh no wait, this isn't a cooking recipe. Because this constructor here, producing iron rods at the rate of 15 per minute, is actually being split off, we are only getting 10 out and stored every minute here, with the rest of them going away to make screws. And the same over here with our screws, we are only producing 80 in total out of both of those constructors, and we are only able to store 20 of them every minute, with the other ones heading in to make our reinforced iron plates. So from our current setup, we only have half of the iron rods that we require, and 1/5 of the amount of screws that we require just to make these rotors. So I really think I've pushed those iron ore nodes to their absolute maximum limit here. I think I'll need to go find myself another iron ore node. Bloody power. Well, just before I do, that's all of the components required for our Logistics Mark 2 upgrade, so let's get that. Well, I have found another iron ore node just across the way there. I will check out its purity in a second. For now, I want to get this power slug here. Hello Nasty, don't be doing it. We have got ourselves a pure iron ore node from this, which I think is 120 iron out per minute from it. Nice one. If only I had the components to actually put down a miner just to check. Thanks very much, upgrade. Okay, miner is down. How much can we produce from this? 120 iron ore per minute. Perfect. I should definitely be able to set up a rotors factory right here. Well, it certainly took a moment, but I was able to construct even more than just rotors from that one node. Let me show you what I've made. So we'll take 120 iron ore per minute out from our miner, and this will come into a splitter here, dividing it by 2, so we'll have 60 going both ways. And because we unlocked that logistics upgrade, we now have conveyor belts Mark 2, which means we can actually move 120 items per minute on them. The 60 coming along this line is then again split into 2, going into 2 different smelters. These smelters then take the 30 iron ore per minute and produce 30 iron ingots per minute. Both sides are the exact same, with the 30 iron ingots coming out and are split again into 2, feeding the constructors in front. 15 iron ingots per minute, giving us 15 iron rods per minute per constructor. Now this part here gets a little bit more complicated with the belt splitting. The 4 constructors are producing us 15 iron rods per minute. So each side has got 2 constructors, which is 30 iron rods coming out per minute. On this side, the 30 iron rods that come out are then put into this splitter here and are split 3 ways, so we have 10 going each way. 2 of the lines merge up, so we have 20 iron rods per minute come out, and that goes directly upstairs. The remaining 10 comes along this line here, meets up with the 30 come out there, and we get 40, then going up the stairs this way. So upstairs on the 40 iron rod line, it comes out and is once again split into 2, which is then again split into 2. So that 40 is divided by 2 for 20, and then divided a further 2 to make 10 apiece that then go into these constructors, which is the perfect amount of rods required per minute for us to make 40 screws per minute per constructor. So we now have 4 constructors here producing 40 screws per minute each, meaning that we have 160 screws being produced every minute. So again, through some more belt splitting magic, we take that 160 screws per minute and divide it so we have one line 100 per minute and another line of 60 per minute. The line of 100 screws per minute comes out and meets the 20 iron rods per minute from downstairs in this assembler, and we get out exactly 4 rotors per minute from this. The other line of 60 screws comes into this assembler here and meets up with 30 iron plates from downstairs and makes us 5 reinforced iron plates per minute. And in comparison to our screws manufacturing factory, this one here making our iron plates is a lot simpler, taking the remainder 60 iron ore that comes out, processing it into iron ingots, then into these constructors to make the iron plates, and as the constructors make 20 iron plates per minute, they are once again split off, so we have 10 going away into storage and the remaining 30 heading upstairs and into that assembler. Well, hopefully so far I've explained the process well, but we do have a bit more to go. So currently from that one pure iron ore node, we have 2 assembling machines here, one of which is producing us 5 reinforced iron plates every minute, and the other is producing us 4 rotors every minute. But if we go up to the third and final floor, we have again another 2 assembling machines up here, both of which are making our smart plating components, which are taking in 2 reinforced iron plates per minute and 2 rotors per minute. So the assembler machines downstairs are just simply coming upstairs and are further split into 2 to feed both of these assembler machines. So because we have the 4 rotors per minute being produced, split into 2, we've got the perfect amount of rotors being made, and close enough for our reinforced iron plates, seeing as we have 5 being produced every minute and split into 2, it's 2.5 per minute, and as we only require 2 per minute here, I don't mind the additional half. But in total then, we will get 4 smart platings out per minute, which I will put into storage, just awaiting our space elevator. Well, hopefully after all of that explanation, everything is as clear as mud. But I'm pretty happy with all of that. All of those components from one pure iron node. Just the final piece of the puzzle now, trying to power all of this stuff on. Well, all of the machines are now connected to a power line, so let's actually just finish this off. I'm fully expecting this to fail, but we will see just how much power this is going to consume once everything is up and running. Which, if I'm looking at this power graph correctly, we are going to require 121 megawatts of power for this, and we're only maybe producing 90 at the moment. So I'm assuming the closer our components get near the top, then this is going to shut off our power, or even just on our bottom floor. That's another biomass burner in. Let's turn this on and see what happens. We now have a capacity of 120 megawatts, still not going to be enough. Quickly build another one. Well, if I have been reading the graph right, it's going to take the 5 biomass burners here underclocked to produce us 150 megawatts, which is more than sufficient if this whole factory only requires 121 megawatts. But again, we'll wait and see, and we'll just listen out for that awful noise. I mean, so far so good. Everything seems to be up and operational, and we just seem to be producing just the right amount of components in each machine. And would you look at that, we already have 5 smart plating, so upstairs is manufacturing this for us perfectly. Yes, the assembler machines upstairs making our smart plating do seem to be doing a pretty decent job about this, and again we do seem to be getting just the right amount of components in here. I am expecting a little surplus of these reinforced iron plates. Hopefully that won't cause too much of an issue though, but I'll probably rip this down at some point anyway once we get the main bus put in, so at least for now we are producing these smart platings, because I think it's time to place down our space elevator and get these upgrades. Here's hoping that the rest of our factory has continued manufacturing components for it. Well, so far we have all of the iron components for this, so I'll come over and check on the concrete front, and we have a nice stockpile of concrete in here. Brilliant. And now for our copper materials, which I'm not as optimistic about, seeing as this factory is out of power, but even in saying that, we have enough of these copper wires already produced for us. So that's all of the components we require for this bad boy. Now, just to find it a home. Yeah, that looks good enough there. We'll put that down and we'll watch the space elevator being made. And it's close enough to our other factory over here actually that I can just take the smart plating from it and put it straight into there. But this will be done in a second, and then we can start looking at these upgrades. Why do I never think these things through? So for us to unlock our tier 3 and tier 4 upgrades, we are going to require 50 of these smart platings, and we have currently produced 39 of them. So I'll just take them straight out from here and convey them all the way over into the space elevator. So in about 20 years time, they'll finally make their way over to the space elevator. And whilst they do that, I should look into the remaining upgrades for tier 2, which for the jump pads one is nice and simple, although I am going to require 50 rotors, which unfortunately are all currently being made into smart platings, and the resource sink bonus program, which is going to unlock our awesome sink and awesome shop, is a lot easier for us to get. So after I get myself some more iron rods, we'll unlock this one. And perfect! That's us got everything we require for it, so let's press the red button and unlock a resource sink bonus program. So I know with update 4 we have quite a few new items in our awesome shop, and one of which that I'm really looking forward to is having some lights. So I'll definitely start getting some coupons so we can get some of those new items as well. In the meantime though, how's our space elevator looking? We have actually got the 50 required. So let us seal this crate, and then let's send this bad boy so we can unlock our tier 3 and tier 4 upgrades. And just good timing, that's our pod returning as well, so we can get even more upgrades. And with our new tier 3 upgrades, we get access to our coal power, which means we get access to our coal generators. And of course, it's also going to require 50 rotors first. Sorry jump pads, you're going to need to wait. For us to unlock tier 5 and tier 6 from our space elevator, we are going to require 500 smart plating, as well as some other components which we aren't yet manufacturing. So that's definitely a while away. So I'm going to disconnect our smart plating for now. Well, I'll not need to, as we don't have power. And I'll just start making rotors here instead, whenever I get some more power. Well, they are now disconnected, so I'll just simply store them for now, and we'll get the power back on for this factory, so hopefully it will continue making the rotors for us. And perfect! It won't take too long until we have the 50 rotors required for our power upgrade. So hopefully this will be the last time I ever need to collect biomass. But that really didn't take long, as I now have the 50 rotors required for this. So let's put everything in and get this upgrade. We have now unlocked our coal power. The coal generators themselves are actually pretty simple to make, just requiring some reinforced iron plates, rotors and cable. But because the coal generators require water as an input, we are going to need to build a water extractor, which means I'm going to need to make some copper sheeting first, which to be fair, I would need anyway to make these Mark 1 pipelines. So I'm going to take one of the two constructors already set up making our copper wire, and instead repurpose it to make our copper sheeting. So we'll quickly power on our copper factory here and start producing some of these copper sheets. And whilst it does that, I'm going to quickly head over and get some more rotors. Well, that's us now got all of the components required to make these buildings, so I think the next step is actually locating our nearest coal source, which, conveniently for us, is just about a kilometre away. Well, I found the area with all of our coal, but there's also a hell of a lot of nasties about. But we do seem to have a water source right beside us as well. Right, I'm going to need to take care of these guys first. On second thoughts, maybe not. I'm going to get my arse kicked. Although, just over the hill here actually, there is a bigger water source, conveniently very close to a coal vein, albeit an impure one. Well, I'll just go ahead and see if I can set up a very basic coal plant here for now. Which does mean I get the joy of relearning the coal generator mechanics all over again. If I remember right, these coal generators require 45 cubic meters of water per minute to operate, and these water extractors can give us 120 cubic meters of water per minute. But at 250% clock speed, I am able to overclock the extractor to give us 300 cubic meters of water per minute, which if every coal generator requires 45 cubic meters of water per minute, means I can have about 8 generators attached to one overclocked water extractor. Well, depending on how much coal per minute the generators also require. Well, for now, I'll just place down a biomass burner to get some initial power into these, and we'll see how much coal they're going to require. And man, I'm really pleased I brought all of that solid biomass fuel with me, and totally didn't leave it all. At least there's some biomass materials around here for me to collect. Oh, and I think we have another coal node over here as well. Yes, we do actually. Just another impure one though. Well, let's power this up and see how we're looking. The water is coming out here at a decent rate. I could possibly even underclock this for now, just to save some more power. And the water is slowly filling up the generators here as well, and here comes our coal down the hill as well. Although I think the miner can only extract 30 per minute, so hopefully we won't need that much. But we now have the coal inside the generator, and are producing some power, 75 megawatts to be precise. And I believe they've changed how power works in update 4, Beforehand, you just got out as much power as your factory demanded, regardless of how much more power your generators could produce. Now, you always get out the maximum your generators can produce, regardless if the power demand is lower. Yes, seeing as we are now constantly producing 75 megawatts of power, even though we only require 25 megawatts into the grid. But as these coal generators are requiring 15 coal per minute inside them, and I want to overclock our water extractors to get 300 cubic meters of water so I can feed 8 coal generators from it, that means I am going to require 8 times 15 coal, which is 120 coal per minute. So are these 2 impure coal miners going to be good enough for that? At 100% clock speed, we are only getting about 30 coal per minute from them, so if I were to overclock them to 200%, I would get about 60 coal per minute from one node here, and as I have 2 nodes, that's my 120 coal per minute. But that's a plan. And I am aware that if I overclocked this water extractor here, as well as the 2 miners, they are going to be demanding a lot more power from the grid. But that then shouldn't be too much of an issue. If every coal generator gives me out 75 megawatts, and I have 8 of them, which would total 600 megawatts of power going into the grid. And I'm hoping that 600 megawatts will be more than sufficient power to run our current factories over there and potentially starting this bus system. Well, that's the plan I'm going ahead with. So for now, I need to find myself some more power slugs and avoid all nasties at all cost. And at least there's enough power slugs around here for me to collect. I've also seen that we have some decent purity ore nodes around here as well, so they will be nice to drag back once we get this bus system up and running. And here's our very first spider nasty, which actually was a lot easier to deal with than I thought. You definitely caught me by surprise there, didn't you, son? Nasty, nasty, nasty bugger. And here's our very first yellow power slug actually. Unfortunately, I think I will need a mam to research it before we get some shards out of it. Although, is that another one over there? It is actually, so we'll grab that, research one, and use the other to create 2 shards. Hello, son. And here is a 3rd yellow slug as well. We are getting really lucky by finding these. Well, that should be enough slugs for now, so what I'll do is put this yellow one into research for its power shards. But I'm going to need some reinforced iron plates first. Of course I am. Well, at least I brought enough supplies to make them, but we can now make some power shards from our yellow slugs. And with every slug giving us 2 power shards from them, we should have more than enough for our little project. Well, actually, as I'm going to require a lot more reinforced iron plates to make these coal generators, I'm not going to do that by hand. What I'll do instead is grab this power line here and start dragging it back towards the main factory, and we'll get the plates from there. And of course I have summoned my old arch nemesis. I've got these damn flying crabs after me now. And with this last power line placed, we are now back at the factory. So, which factory should be power on first? The main iron factory is taking about 66 megawatts of power to operate, so I think I'll just connect the power to it, seeing as this is the factory that is going to produce our reinforced iron plates anyway. So let's power it on, and eventually we'll get out the plates so I can continue making more coal generators. I'm actually just in the middle of finishing up these coal generators here, but I can hear these strange noises in game which are really freaky. Let me go silent so you can hear. Isn't that freaky? What the hell is making that noise? Well, that's all 8 of our coal generators now up and operational, and if I come over to this power pole here, you can see that we are now producing a flat 600 megawatts. All of our coal generators here are now operational and are just getting in the right amount of water and coal required every minute. I did make an error with my calculations earlier on. I thought I could have 8 coal generators run off 1 overclocked water extractor, but actually I can only have 6 coal generators run off 1 water extractor. So I've just placed down 2 overclocked water extractors, and that is dealing with our 8 generators here. Well, the whole power setup here is now self-sufficient, and I have the power now connected back to the main factory. So let's head back and see about starting this bus system. Well, I'm back at the main factory now, and what I think I'll do is get rid of these biomass burners here and connect that main power line from our coal generators to these separate sub-factories. So everything should now continuously run. So that should be everything connected to our main power now, so all of our sub-factories should be up and operational. We are still producing a flat 600 megawatts of power from our 8 coal generators, and they're only using about 355 megawatts of power from all of the factories now turned on. So I am incredibly happy with that. These factories will continue making components for us as I head away and start establishing this bus system. So I'm going to need to find myself a lot of flat space around here that I can start putting some foundations onto so I can start setting this up, because this is going to be a big, long project. Well, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to find a lot of flat area. I will probably just need to do that with foundation. But I have found a crash site down here that I will go visit. Of course there's nasties absolutely everywhere. Well, that's the nasty taken care of, so let's open this drop pod, and we are going to need some rotors for this. How fortunate for me that I have a factory producing them as we speak. Well, that's all the rotors in, so let's open this and we will get out our hard drive. And we'll just stick the hard drive straight into a MAM here. 10 minutes, let's disassemble that and we'll check in it, should I remember, in 10 minutes time. Right, there's some more nasties and some more goodies here, so let's collect these. Motors? Cool. And it's now very apparent to me that I'm not going to find a flat area around here because of all these sand dunes. So yes, I'm going to need to make an area myself with some foundations. So I don't really have a particular place to start building this, but I will get some foundation down and make a start somewhere. Well, I'm probably going to regret this decision later, but this is the very first foundation piece that will eventually become a huge big factory in this area. And this is the point which I'm going to leave you at. I'm going to go around and extract all of the materials from the local ore nodes here and start pulling them up onto these foundations here to start our bus system. So hopefully next time you see me, I will have a setup similar to this, except all the conveyor belts fill with ore, which we can then start playing around with and turn them into some more components. And we will start expanding our factory out more as we start getting into the more complex components to make. And very quickly, just before I do leave you, our hard drive is complete. So I've got a few different recipes that I can now choose from. Well, all of these alternative recipes are very interesting, although they are going to require me to have a foundry or a refinery first, which I don't yet have. But we will get into steel next time, and then I can maybe think about that. So I am actually tempted just to leave choosing one for now until I do decide what we need more of. But I'm very pleased with our progress today. We have a new factory creating our rotors and smart plating. We have unlocked tier 3 and tier 4 upgrades from our space elevator, and have unlocked our coal power, which means no more biomass runs for me. And once again, if you've made it to the very end of this episode, thank you very much for watching. Next time, we're going to really start ramping things up.